Welcome into Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery here on Locked On Sports Atlanta. It is draft day in the NBA. We're going to spend a lot of time today sorting out what's real, what's not real, walking through it, talking through it, trying to figure out what the Hawks are, what they're going to be, what they're going to do. Also, last night, it was the best of the Braves. We'll talk about that. It's all next. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.
This is Hittin' Hard with Jon Chuckery, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
We welcome you in on this Thursday on Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta. We ask you to head over to youtube.com, put Locked On Sports Atlanta into your search browser. When you find our page, subscribe to it, leave us a comment. Of course, we are free and available on all of your favorite podcast platforms. So download us today, Spotify, Odyssey. When you get there, leave us a 5-star review. Tell us what you think about the show and give me a follow on my personal Twitter page. That would be at JMCH316. All right, it is NBA draft day. All right. We got a lot to try to just talk through. And this is going to be sort of therapy. We're going to walk through it. We're going to talk through it. We're going to be cutting and strutting, right? Styling and profiling, trailblazing, eyebrow raising. We're going to be going through the whole thing because there is so many tentacles and so much rumor and innuendo going around the Atlanta Hawks right now. All right. So let's start with tonight's draft. Hawks pick 16th in the draft. What does my gut tell me about, are they going to move up, move down, move back, do this, stay where they are, this and the other? My guess is that they will end up staying at 16. Now, they may end up trading the person that they draft later on, but if I had to guess right now, I don't think the Hawks are looking to go up in the draft because, with all due respect, why would you give up your known assets when you're not really in? We have to talk about what the Hawks are. The Hawks are not in salary dump mode. The Hawks are not still in rebuild mode. The Hawks are, we've got to get better and get back to competing mode, right? We've got to get, part of that is your guys that you have on your roster have to be better, but we have to add and things like that. So I don't think trading up to go get a high draft pick makes sense for this organization right now, right? You've got, Trey's a top pick, DeAndre Hunter's a top pick. You've got a bunch of mid-tier picks and things like that, right? You got a lot of guys that you draft and you have that sort of figured out. You're kind of at the point where you need to find somebody who's established as a star. Now, picking 16, you can find a good player there. Remember where John Collins and Kevin Huerter and some of those guys were picked. Those guys were mid-round first pick. Collins was 19th or something like that. So you can find guys that can come in and produce. And again, we've talked about, look at how the Celtics and the Warriors look at the pieces that they drafted to help them out. The loonies in the pool. Okay, those guys were 27 and 30. The Celtics, Marcus Williams, Grant Williams. Okay, those guys were like 20 and 27. You can find guys that are going to help you. May not be stars, but you also do need to fill out your roster and some role players that can contribute off the bench or be a spot starter, whatever. You need some of those guys. So my gut tells me that the Hawks are going to stay where they're at. They may explore some options, but they're going to stay where they're at, and they're going to draft 16. Now, the next thing. We heard last night reports, and I'm just going to be curious. Like, I'm jaded because of the Deshaun Watson situation. So quick background. I remember the day Deshaun Watson announced that he was headed to Cleveland. Okay. I was doing a live remote at Hooters in Acres Mill, and I was with another host on the radio station, and we had our producer out there, and we were all getting texts and messages and different things coming to us from people that we like and trust and this and the other that were like, well, I'm hearing Deshaun's going to Atlanta. He signed the deal, this and the other, blah, 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 right? All of these things that were all but guaranteeing us that Deshaun Watson was going to Atlanta. What ended up happening? He did. He took the $230 million from Cleveland, and that was it. Now, I'm not going to get into the Deshaun Watson situation as far as what I think really happened there, but everybody was wrong. I mean, if we're being honest, everybody was wrong. That's how I feel like everybody is right now with the Atlanta Hawks and all of these rumors. I'm not telling you that the Hawks aren't going to be in the mix for a guy or whatever like that, but the names that I'm hearing, the names you hear, for instance, we know the Hawks need defense, right? Hawks are a bad defensive team. Okay, but where were they bad defensively? Well, they gave up the sixth highest three-point field goal percentage in the entire of the NBA. They're an awful wing defender team. They're a better just overall 2-point field goal percentage team than they are 3-point percentage, and their inside defense hasn't killed them. So, if they're not terrible inside defensively, you have a premier rebounder in Clint Capella, who a couple of years ago led the league in rebounding. Okay, so if I have all of that, and I have a Kongu, who was another good rim protector, then why am I so focused on hearing about a big guy or a center? Why? So I have to give up assets, pay more money to not fix something? I'm confused about all of this. I'm That's why when I hear Aiton and Gobert, our problem is not our interior defense. Our problem is our wing defense. Our problem is our perimeter defense. We don't play well enough around the perimeter. And what's the NBA game today? If this were 1978, I could understand going and getting a legitimate center because I got to match up with Kareem and Bob Lanier and guys like that. But that's not what our issue is. So why are we trying to fix something that really isn't our issue? And by the way, since there isn't an Al Cinder or a Bob Lanier or an Artis Gilmore, those centers we're talking about are 15 point a game guys, 15, 17 point a game guys. Okay. So I bring in Aiton. He's 17 and 10. That's 3 points and 2 less rebounds than Clint Capella. I bring in Gobert. He's 15 and 15. Okay. That's a point and 3 rebounds more than Clint Capella. That's going to change up the direction of my franchise. That's what I don't understand about all of this. And I understand the point of the Hawks being mentioned in every trade possible because we've heard what Schlenk and we've heard what Tony Ressler said. But did we listen to what they said or did we hear what they said? Because it seems like we're hearing a lot of things. So when I hear Aiton and Gobert, okay, I don't get excited about that. I'm going to give up assets. Aiton wants a max deal. Gobert's already a $40 million player. So I'm going to pay twice as much for a position that I'm not bad at right now. These things just don't make sense to me. I'm completely confused about it. Now, DeJounte Murray. That was the big rumor last night. Oh, the Hawks have had discussions. Okay, help me understand, why would the Spurs move on from their best player who's young and cheap? He has 2 more years at about 17 million a year. Why would I move on? Why would Greg Popovich, unless he's just senile at this point, why would he move on from that guy? Why would he give up that to go get guys that aren't necessarily better or do more? Murray's a guy who led the league in steals, 20-point guy, 9 assists, 8 rebounds. Look, I would be for bringing in Murray here, but I'm trying to understand the mentality of what the Spurs, because now we're hearing that, well, yes, they want to trade him, but they want a Drew like Holiday type of deal. Cool. So how many assets am I going to have to give up for him? Because John Collins makes more money than what Murray does. You can sort of balance that out with all of it. So you've got that, but what else are they going to want? What kind of package are we talking about? And that's the thing that's confusing about all of this, is trying to sort out what, why, when, and such. All right, when we come back, we're going to talk more about this because there's more names, more philosophy, more thought. Let's walk through it. Let's continue to try to figure this thing out and see what direction the Hawks are going to go. It's Hitting Hard with Jon Chuckery on Locked On Sports Atlanta.